Hello my friends and welcome back. I'm Chisgule Gaming, and in this video we're watching the tail end of KVK when Cortex got swarm zeroed. And you heard me correctly. What you're watching is not footage of, I don't know, one attack on the player and then we say lol got zero. We're talking about like actually fully 100% hospital full, swarm, zero troops left besides the hospital, okay? And over the course of this video, you're going to watch Cortex get 3 different flavors of Fate Changer. I didn't even know there were all these different tiers of Fate Changer. I mean, I guess it makes sense. So what is going on here exactly? At the very end of KVK, oh, and you can see after the first couple times he gets swarmed, he gets the caravans over here. At the tail end of KVK, we needed to drop a lot of power to do this migration into Kingdom 254. And you can see Cortex is online. He is actually the one who recorded this footage. So it's not like Cortex is getting zeroed here and he didn't want it to happen or he got caught out or some big mistake was made. He's got the king title. He can't even be imprisoned. He's doing this because he's trying to drop power so that we can do our big migration. And like, yes, it was very, very, very difficult to get everyone into Kingdom 254 because there was just so much power we were trying to bring in. And so he's doing his part here, just losing the remainder of his power. He's ready to be done with KVK at this moment in time. And it's like, all right, just swarm me, just zero the darn troops and let's get it over with. And there's some weird stuff that happens at the end of KVK. This is one of those things where you can potentially pick up a lot of kills, finding players who are just trying to do their part for the kingdom or whatever. And I'm going like this because like sometimes people are trying to pad their stats. In this instance, you don't lose your troops like this trying to pad your stats. Cortex had plenty of participation all KVK. He's just trying to reduce his troop count. And when we were chatting about, like what would you do differently? One of the things that we sort of mentioned or he talked about in hindsight was, he kind of wished he had set a rally with his lower tiers of troops so that his hospital would have been full from this exercise with entirely T5 troops. In fact, because of how much like weaker T4s are in your city for defending, I personally have trained out of all of my T4s. I know that's not for everybody. But now you can see like there's all kinds of weird marches. I think there was a Lohar or maybe a Boudica with Herald. Did I see that? Am I seeing this correctly? Maybe somebody was just like out barbing and they're like, oh, look, a city and we're swarming it. And they just sort of start going for it. Now, if Cortex had wanted to inflict more damage here, he could have used a 10% token. I don't know if he wanted to spend the gems for that. He probably just wanted to get zeroed. And if he wanted to inflict more damage, he could have used a rune. That would have helped. But we'll get a look at his gear and the reports and the talent build. And I actually have a few suggestions there for like what you might do if you were specifically trying to get into this situation. There's a $20 Fate Changer. Man, I could make a whole Fate Changer video because I had never seen all the different tiers of Fate Changer. Maybe I will do that. But let's get a look at these reports real quick, see what we've got here. So I'm going to go, I think it's in reverse order of how these actually happen. So this is like one of the last swarms on his cities. And he's only got like, I don't know, it says 600,000 troops. And these trades are not great. And the trades are going to be really bad when you're getting swarmed like this, even though you're defending your city. Even though defending your city is really advantaged, the big advantage for defending your city is when you actually have people stuffing it full of troops, which is not the case here. He's got Xeno with Esong, and if we get a look at the next report real quick, I'll scroll on down here. There was a rally at the start, and I do have that rally report in just a bit here. And thank you again, Cortex, for sharing this footage and these reports so that I could make this video and we could all see how this unfolded. I think with a slight modification, very slight modification to the way that your talents are set up, you might be able to do a little bit better. And again, better because what are we trying to accomplish? Hospital was filled, mission accomplished, ? Lose all the troops so that you lower power for Imperium. Mission accomplished in that regard. I mean, maybe one of the takeaways here is like so many people in this KVK were just going nuts at the end, trying to like fill hospitals and lose troops, that I almost wonder, like, should we all just be way more aggressive at the start of KVK, knowing that we have to do this at the end? But here's the rally. Cortex loses a lot of troops here. I mean, his hospital gets filled and he has 60,000 dead. and the rally has 110,000 die. And the problem is that like he just doesn't have that many troops. Okay. He's got, you know, somewhere between, I think it was like 1 and 2 million troops here, which is just like, it's not enough to take a full buffed up Attila Takeda rally when that opponent probably has the Zig too for like the damage taken and damage dealt buffs. Just gets a little nuts. Although some of these marches that were used to swarm were probably not the right choice here. And let me show you his gear. So in terms of what he's using here, I think these are actually some good choices. He's got 2 different set bonuses running. He's got the archer set bonus, the 2-piece bonus, and that's from the chest piece and the weapon. And then he's also got the 2-piece infantry bonus going from the infantry helmet and the gloves. And then he's got talented infantry gear on his legs and also boots. And those, by the way, you will recognize from Lost Canyon as a reward that you can get. And if you've got enough materials to commit to it, you can talent those. The Ring of Doom is obviously really, really good. And in this situation, the dagger's not amazing. In a perfect world, if you had them, you'd use like Vengeance and Coin. And that's because Coin is going to have a chance to proc every time you're getting hit, and you're getting hit by a lot of marches here, so that'd be really good. And Vengeance would just be there for the counterattack damage. Alternatively, given that we're getting Greatest Glory really soon from like Egg Event, maybe that would be also a totally fine accessory, not quite as good as Vengeance though. And if we just get a quick look at his talents, this is a pretty standard Xeno garrison build. If you were defending a flag, or even, actually, I take it back. He does have the talent points for defending your city. I do take that back. So he's made a couple choices here. And actually, now that you see the build that he has over here, let me jump in game and showcase a bit the tweaks you could make that would really strengthen this weird scenario that we're in. So if you knew your city was going to get swarmed, one of the most important talents that I would go and take is off to the side over here, Know Thy Enemy. This makes it so that when it's maxed, you reduce the damage that you're taking by 9%. That is actually a massive, massive damage taken reduction. Of course, you're going to take Impregnable to reduce the skill damage you take, and also Nowhere to Turn, which is going to increase your rage gen. Now, on the topic of rage gen, normally you would go for something like Rejuvenate, which gives you a lot of rage when you use an active skill. But when you're getting swarmed like this, and you have a talent like Nowhere to Turn, 12 marches swarming a city is going to generate 120 rage per second. And there's an E-Song floating in the mix, giving random rage boosts too, but 120 rage per second on top of your base rage gen is going to cap out the amount of rage that you can generate in a turn anyways. So if you're very, very confident that what is about to happen is you're going to get swarmed into freaking oblivion, and you're not taking any rallies at all. So, if you were to be imprisoned and you knew you were about to get completely pwned, what do you do? And can you hang on for long enough? And maybe you have to like literally smash the gem button to heal your troops fast enough between swarms on your city. Something like that, like a very desperate situation. And like, look, like people get swarm zeroed. This happens. So what other talents would you take? I would go all the way to emergency protection. I think that's really good. I would, unless you had a ton of siege units, I would avoid expert design, I guess. This is kind of a weird situation here. We know you're going to get swarmed. So one very strange option, I wish this was good, would be Divine Favor. I just think it's too many points to commit for what you're getting. I think it's important to get Call of the Pack so that when you have reduced strength, you do more damage. I think it's important to get Double-Headed Axe. I guess technically, by the way, this is giving you more defense, not more damage. Okay. And then Iron Spear, damage to calves, seems really good. And I've avoided these rage talents up here because like I don't need them. I'm already capping on rage, right? So the other spot that you could go is probably to counterattack. I think that's a nice choice. And I suppose you now don't have quite enough points to go max this out over here. Depending on the composition of what's in your city, you could kind of prioritize if what you wanted to do was go for expert design and maybe ditch some points somewhere else. Or if you were stacked with a ton of infantry, you could make your way over to Strong of Body and just get a ton of health. You've got really like 9 points of flex in this stage of things. And I actually don't hate the idea of going over here. I mean, I dislike the 3 wasted points in Hasty Departure, but most people who have not deleted Siege for Imperium requirements, could go over to here and get a good amount of value. So we could run something like this. I don't know, is this crazy? Am I absolutely insane? Again, we're avoiding getting Rejuvenate because the maximum amount of rage that you can pull down in a turn is 220. And we know that you're generating baseline somewhere in the realm of like 100-ish rage. And I don't want to get into the details here. It doesn't really matter. Plus another 120 rage over here. I mean, you're going to rage cap. Like, it's going to happen. If you thought you weren't going to be like max swarmed, then I guess you could instead be putting points into Undying Fury or Burning Blood. Okay, that would be fine. That'd be another way to get some additional rage. But it sure is weird that we're in a day and age in which I am recommending that you do not actually, in certain situations, get Rejuvenate, man. Super weird. Other than that change, right? I don't think there's a ton that he could have done with the commanders at his disposal. I think that obviously using YSS, if he had it, would have been really good. But he doesn't have YSS. He has Esong, and so Esong was just doing his AoE damage. And, like, that's fine. That's what Esong is there to be. A commander that does it all. Freaking slices and dices. And thankfully, he had a Xeno primary, which is a strong choice. But, you know, if you had Charles Martel on your wall, as an example, with a Esong secondary, you could do something similar with your build. And I'm not going to map it all out now, but if you want to see this, I have a card up in the top where I went more in depth for Sun Tzu and Esong builds for the same sort of situation. But you could go all the way over to Know Thy Enemy, and in some ways there might even be more defensive options. Like, for example, Balance is really good in a situation in which you're getting super surrounded. That, I think, is actually a really nice choice. So there's some good talents in here. And oh yeah, like, dude, Burning Blood paired with Nowhere to Turn, even if they don't full swarm you, like, you are going to generate so much rage. It's actually a quite acceptable commander in that swarm situation, in part because of all this freaking counterattack, man. Counterattack is the answer when you're getting swarmed like that. And if you're the one doing the swarming and you want to reduce the damage that you're taking, if you had everybody sit there with a Guan Yu, you will full silence the garrison for like the remainder of the fight. It's insane. And if you want to see when that happens, I'll have a card up in the top with a 120 million power player getting silence chained and swarm zeroed. It's well, he didn't get zeroed, but like getting swarmed. It was nuts, man. If you enjoyed this video, throw a like on here. Consider subscribing. Thank you, Cortex, for your sacrifice to make it so that we all could land in Kingdom 254. We're having a lot of fun here. This is a very exciting place to be. And we're all starting slowly to recover our power from this last KVK. And that's just going to take some time. Until next time, you have fun, smashing your enemies, and Happy New Year, everybody.